I bring this up because while a lot of now rudimentary programming tasks can be handled by generative AI, and the complexity of the tasks that they can handle, decently well is increasing every day, I don't know that they're ever going to be at a point where they can understand systems thinking
Hmm.
and more precisely operate in any kind of a corporate environment where there are dozens upon dozens of tightly interrelated software systems that all have to play nice together and they're in a constant flux and
Mhm.
technologies within them they become deprecated. Like, it's just not going to be able to operate in that scene. So you
Yeah.
need architects, you need senior developers, always going to need those people.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Business of Learning podcast. My name is Ron Camargo, and my guest here today is Erik Gross, who is a co-founder of the Tech Academy. Erik, thank you so much for being here today. I'm really excited to have this conversation.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. I'm glad to be here.
Why don't we start off just like we start every single one of these episodes? You just telling everyone that's listening in a little bit more about the Tech Academy, who you are, who you hope, and any other context that you'd like to share about the company.
Yeah, absolutely. The Tech Academy primarily offers coding boot camps, and when we started, I'd have to explain to people every day what's a coding boot camp. Right now, it requires very little explanation, but we've been around since the very beginning.
Mhm.
First had the idea for it like spring of 2013, 6 months after the first coding boot camp
Mhm.
started in the Bay Area, and flash forward to today, and we've helped thousands of people break into tech. We're one of the most highly rated coding boot camps in the world. We have 12 different offerings, and we do corporate training and a whole bunch of other stuff. So that's just a
Amazing.
summary of who we are.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll dive into so much more of it as well. I would love to start off the conversation with just talking about AI. I think it's such a buzzword for everything and any single conversation out there. But we'll get this out of the way right really quickly here.
Yeah.
So many people now are, and so many apps, so many tools that exist that can do coding for you. Do you find, and I've asked this question to also another guest who had a company that had to do with coding,
Yeah.
and I asked him the question that I'll ask you here. Do you think that AI will take over coding and then that will never be necessary? Talk to me about how you're thinking of this entire AI noise that is happening in the world and how that is affecting coding.
Yeah, absolutely. The short answer is no, it won't. But I can expand on that a little bit.
Hmm.
First, this like little bit of background. I've been programming since I was 11.
Mm.
And I remember when I was about 14, the first media that I saw that basically predicted the end of programming as a career. I was
Okay.
13, 14 years old, and it was some smarty pants at a university had created a program that could then create programs. And so the media is all ablaze with, oh, no one's going to learn how to program computers. Why would you do
Hmm.
it? They could program themselves.
Hmm.
Clearly, that didn't happen. That was 1983, and I think they made a few programmers after 1983. Then you flash forward to the the machine learning era, era of big data, and programmers can be out of a job. And you
Mm.
flash forward to AI, and programmers can be out of a job. And there's two aspects of it. One is absolutely the media loves a story with danger and loss
Yes.
and the world's on fire.
Hmm.
That's what they do, right? But two, there is some validity. Absolutely, people should like have some attention on like, well, clearly something's changed.
Hmm.
And something's changed at a pace we've never seen before in technology. So absolutely, people should be, have attention on it, right?
Hmm.
But the point I'm bringing up is that I've been hearing my whole life the predicted end of programming as a career. It's
Yeah.
not going to go away. But
Mhm.
there's a specific reason why AI can't think.
Hmm.
AI, more specifically generative AI, can be very good at predicting the most logical arrangement of words and symbols based on a set of inputs. It's extremely good at that and getting better every day.
Mhm.
They can't think. And
Mm.
frankly, computers will never be able to think.
Mm.
Like they're not human. There's no spark of life there, right?
Mhm.
I bring this up because while a lot of now rudimentary programming tasks can be handled by generative AI, and the complexity of the tasks that they can handle, decently well is increasing every day,
Mhm.
I don't know that they're ever going to be at a point where they can understand systems thinking
Hmm.
and more precisely operate in any kind of a corporate environment where there are dozens upon dozens of tightly interrelated software systems that all have to play nice together, and they're in a constant flux, and
Mm,
have technologies within them, they become deprecated. Like, it's just not going to be able to operate in that scene. So you
yeah.
need architects, you need senior developers. You're always going to need those people.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you.
Talk about it a lot.
Yeah,
That's where I'm at.
no, no, that's awesome. And the other gentleman had a similar answer because at the end of the day, dumbing it down a little bit for people like me that don't understand much about coding, there always has to be someone taking care of the job. I don't care if it's AI agents, if it's whoever. At least for now, right? I don't know what the future holds, but there always has to be someone that takes care of it, who oversees it, but also makes those decisions. As you said, who does the thinking for the program and then sets it up, and then sure, it can handle a million different things, but it doesn't originate from the AI and all these things. So
Yeah.
it's great that you highlighted in the way that you portrayed that as well. Talk to me a little bit more about the boot camps themselves. How does that actually work? So there's so many different ones out there now. So it's hard to for someone who maybe is looking to change their careers or just upskill themselves to find the right one. How does the entire methodology work for the boot camps that you guys provide?
I appreciate the question. First, I just want to give it the context I think that will make it be a better answer, which
Sure.
is there really are only three ways to break into tech. There's
Mm,
college or university, there's self-study, and there's coding boot camps.
hmm.
Within that paradigm, I mean, there's trade-offs with each one. Absolutely, right? University you're going to go to for 4 years or more, it costs a lot of money, and you're not going to get a lot of modern practical tools. You have to learn those really rapidly when you get on the job, but you get a much deeper grounding in core elements of computer science, algorithm design, data structures, stuff that's going to allow you to work on really, really meaningful coding challenges.
Hmm.
It's a bit of a trade-off though, right? Self-study, big, big challenge in that, well, first of all, it's free, which is great, or as
Yeah.
close to free as might as well be. But often the individual learner doesn't know what to study. Are they spending a bunch of their really valuable time, probably while they've got a regular job, learning the wrong things? They get
Mm,
through it only to find out they spent 6 months or a year learning technology that isn't in demand or is deprecated. But if you got the time, it doesn't cost anything.
mhm, mhm,
The other challenge with that paradigm, just try to teach yourself, is you're operating all by yourself, and you can't very easily at all find an experience where you're actually building real software with other people to know what it's like to do the
mhm.
job.
Yeah, there's no feedback.
Exactly. Right in between those is coding boot camps.
Mm,
It isn't free at all, but it also takes a lot less time. You aren't going to have the deep, deep computer science, dive in terms of your knowledge, but you are going to learn modern tools that hiring managers want right now.
mhm, mhm.
So it's again a bit of a trade-off. One thing that a coding boot camp can and should provide to you, I'm getting around to where, how we operate,
Yeah,
is how do you make it so that the individual learner can experience what it's like to really do the job
mhm.
before they get to their first day on the job?
Yeah, yeah.
So with all
That's
that said, go ahead.
No, yeah, and I'll just quickly interrupt you here because I
Yeah.
really like that you're prefacing these things, because I'm sure you're going to tie into something that you explained to me in our first conversation,
Yeah.
which is really showing the why things happen and how you guys are operating. So I would love you to actually tie that somewhere in your answer because I think it would be really valuable for anyone that's listening to really understand that as well, because I think that sets such a great foundation. Not to take away from whatever you were thinking of answering
No,
before.
yeah, you're going exactly where I was going.
Oh, amazing. So let's do that. And I know we could be here probably for the next 3 hours, but yeah, at a high
Yeah.
level, how would
I
that
have to
go?
rein, I have to rein myself in. I get very enthusiastic about technology. I'll preface the next thing I want to talk about with this thing that I've told countless students over the last 30 years. I don't memorize syntax, like the rules of how do you arrange the programming language with the right symbols and words in the right order. I never memorize that.
Mm,
And I find that people who have been indoctrinated by modern educational systems to respond on a test to what they remember, that's really hard for them. But it leads to the point that you were making and where I was leading as well, which is that if you understand the principles behind these machines, these digital
mhm,
computers, the
mhm.
principles behind designing a logical algorithm that follows a specific series of instructions and if else then sort of
Yeah.
paradigms, to understand all these things, you don't need to memorize the syntax because you can always look that up. It's
Mhm,
much more important to understand how this machine works, how programming works under, in the basic principles. Now,
mhm.
obviously, someone who goes to 4-year university degree, they're going to go deep into that stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
How do you impart that in a boot camp? Which brings us to how we operate. Our boot camps are completely self-paced. Lots of educational systems and frankly lots of boot camps move all the students through in lockstep in the material.
Mhm.
On day one, you're studying X. On day two, you're studying Y, and so on and so forth. The challenge there is if you miss one day or if something is really hard for you to grasp, but you don't quite get it, from that point forward, you can get
Mhm.
lost pretty easily. And you
Right.
really, really good, bright, ambitious people
Mhm.
could have fantastic careers in technology. So our
Mhm.
programs are fully self-paced. Secondly, right at the front end of our boot camps, we don't start with teaching coding. And I'm putting this out there not just for people that are in the, coding bootcamp space but for anybody who's trying to teach technology. Because at this point, I've tried thousands of things. I've been teaching it since 1989. I
Mm.
did a lot of things wrong. There's a few things I figured out that worked. And one thing I can tell you is this is if you're trying to teach someone coding and you start out by teaching them to code, you're making a large mistake.
Mm.
I know that seems counterintuitive,
Yeah.
but if you've got someone who literally doesn't understand what a computer is, what the central processing unit is,
Mhm.
how data is moved and stored inside the computer, if you don't, and again, I'm not going to go too deep, right? But if you don't understand this machine you're operating, that
Mhm.
when you're trying to write code, it can be very frustrating. And anybody out there who's tried to study technology and had the brief, momentary thought, maybe it's me. Maybe I'm not smart enough for this.
Mm.
I assure you it's not true.
Mhm. Mhm.
Most technology education assumes too much prior knowledge on the part of the student. They don't start with the actual basics and fundamentals. We
Mm.
discovered that the hard way early on. And so we developed a course right at the beginning of all of our boot camps, because we have a dozen different boot camps called the Computer Basics course, which removes all mystery from machines,
Mhm.
computers, technology, all these weird symbols you see, both in the programming arena, but just technology in general, because it permeates all of our lives. And
Yeah.
when people get done with that course, it
Mm.
takes about a week. It's so stabilizing. They understand all the principles behind what they're about to do. And then when they embark in learning how to code, they're like, oh, now I understand. I'm just giving
Yeah.
instructions to a machine that I understand how the machine operates now.
Yeah.
It
And
changes
that's awesome.
everything about their journey.
Yeah, because then it removes the mystery, right? There's no, and it kind of reminds me of something that I might be giving you a terrible analogy here, but it kind of reminds me of when a company is trying to really settle down on like the sales script to a new
Mm,
salesman. Hold on to
yep.
to your seat here really quickly. They just give this entire script line by line what has to be said,
Right.
but then there is a certain situation in which something new happens and that doesn't follow the script, and then everybody's like, "Oh my god, what do I actually do in this situation?" As opposed to having a framework in which you understand what has to be covered and how this part works. To which, if something goes away from the track, it's
Yeah.
okay because you can just take that back. It's like, hey, no problem. I don't need the line by line script. I just need to understand how it works. Because then you understand the why. If you understand the why, then that cycle is a positive loop instead of a negative loop that you throw out the window and then you're like, oh, I don't know what the hell to do. So
That's
that's kind of
actually
what it reminded me of.
it's a great analogy. And
Mhm.
what's great about looking at it from that point of view is this: when dealing with human beings, we're dealing with they're not stimulus response machines.
Mhm.
We think and we have opinions and free will, right? And if you work hard to understand some of the fundamentals about how we think and operate and apply our free will, you can absolutely, like in that example, put together not just a sales script, but the philosophy behind it.
Mhm.
What
Mhm.
you've learned as an expert in sales over many years is the pattern of what's effective and what's going on in the prospect's mind. And
Mhm.
so you can, if you train someone that, then yeah, they might go off script, but they can think fluidly with it. That's
Mhm.
a
Mhm.
phenomenal point. How and
Mm.
what's neat about computers is they are stimulus response machines.
Mm.
They will only ever operate in an exact manner that's been pre-programmed into them. Period. End of story. They don't
Mhm.
think for themselves. They don't sometimes do one thing and sometimes do another. They
Yeah.
are predictable to the nth degree. And so when you learn those fundamental principles that guide how the machine operates, then yeah, a person who encounters a brand new situation, it's not really brand new,
Yeah.
because the machine that's going to be
Mhm.
helping them to operate in that situation is a known predictable thing. And it's very
Exactly.
stabilizing.
Awesome. That's really, really cool. Thank you for tying that back as well. That's awesome.
Yeah,
I
great.
would love to shift our conversation here, Eric, onto the business itself, onto the
Yep.
tech economy, and how you guys are looking at growth. And I think one thing that I always like to highlight in this podcast here is that as business owners, business leaders, and people who are dealing with the day to day, it's not just sunshines and rainbows. People can sometimes look from an outside or from another company and say, "Wow, they're doing so well and so amazing." I was like, "Oh, there's actually so much that is happening that you don't even know," right?
Yeah.
I love oh man, who's um I can't remember the gentleman's name now, but huge entrepreneur as well. And this is going me going on a tangent because
Yeah,
I
it's fine. Look,
remember the story. And he said when he was first starting off, like things were so terrible, but people would ask him, "Hey, how things are going?" And he didn't want to like let people down, so he would say, "Oh man, if I told you, you wouldn't even believe it." And then everybody would be like, "Oh my god, that's amazing!" Ed Milet, Ed Milet, that's who it was. Ed Milet is the one.
wonderful.
And then, but it's that outside perspective that seems so amazing. But we all know there's many challenges along the way. So I would love to hear from you. What are some challenges when you're looking at the company growth? Keep the revenue coming in, of course, getting more clients, getting more acquisition on that side of things. What are some of the challenges that can sometimes stand in the way of that?
Yeah, this is a really good question. There's a couple of things. One is that there is in this whole industry, the boot camp industry, because it became an industry relatively rapidly from 2013 to about 2015, just huge proliferation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then a consolidation in the industry to where we went from about 350 or 400 boot camps nationwide, down to maybe 150, 170. There's some consolidations, and since then, many of them gone out of business. COVID was really hard on schools that relied, fundamentally on people arriving in a physical classroom. Luckily, we put the groundwork in years before to do online education, and about
Mm-hmm.
40% of our students were already fully
Mm.
online
Nice.
when COVID hit. And then all of a sudden, one day in April, they're all online.
Yeah.
But what's wild is that after COVID restrictions eased and we've all gotten back to the new normal, whatever that is, no one comes into the campuses anymore.
Mm.
100% of our students are online. And so that poses its own challenges, right? But one of the biggest ones is that just in general, it's been harder and harder for people to get the money put together to pay for,
Mm.
5, 10, $15,000 for a boot camp. Now, the ROI, the return on investment, is huge.
Yes. Yes.
Our graduates make on average $60,000 a year when they get hired in their new jobs, right? And so putting 5 or 10 G's into something like that, when you know that in that first year, you're going to go from what were you making, 12, 13, $14 an hour, whatever you were doing, and all of a sudden you're making $30 an hour, it's worth it. But getting like, it's a bit
Mm-hmm.
tighter to get money,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm.
Um, but the other part of what we see challenging is that there's demand for what we do all over the world
Mm-hmm.
because people want to get into technology. But until recently, it just wasn't economical for us to be able to offer what we do in, say a country where the value of the dollar to their currency is really, really tight. So these are
Yeah.
some things we've been facing is how to expand in new markets.
Mm-hmm.
How do we, overcome the fact that it's a bit tighter for people to be able to get the money together right on the front end and do the education. And so we've had to respond in various different ways with the money part of it. We've gotten pretty creative with either income share agreements or our own internal financing or working out monthly payments, and just had to get creative in that. Where in the early days we could just say, hey, we have one boot camp, it's $10,000, and people went, yeah, sure, here's our money, sign me up. You have to even
Mm-hmm.
go creative in those arenas, right?
Mm.
So it
Interesting.
means you need to be smart about your cash flow,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
things, right?
Mm-hmm.
uh, in the how do we help people in markets we haven't traditionally able to serve? Well, honestly, it's the advent of a lot of AI tools that have actually opened things up in that arena, because we were able to take all the materials, both written and video, that we have, which is about, I don't know, 1,700 hours of recorded, video,
Mm.
and tens of thousands of written documents across 12 different boot camps,
Mm-hmm.
and enable automatic real-time translation of all of them into other
Mm.
two languages reliably.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
last year we launched Tech Academy International, which we are now marketing into areas where, frankly, there's just no way to be able to. They're not going to pay 5, 6, $10,000 US if they're over in Africa. They can't do it. and yet they're hungry
Yeah.
for technology education.
Yeah.
And so you have to be able to think with, the long term of, hey, we worked on that for a year, year and a half before it could launch, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
But it's worth it because it opens up obviously a thousandfold the number of people who
Yeah.
can use our services.
Yeah. No, that's really awesome. Thank you for sharing that as well. And it's great to always hear how founders are thinking about maneuvering these challenges and understanding and figuring out new and better ways to innovate the product, but then also innovate the impact and the reach that you're able to get there. As also, thank you for sharing that as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll actually add a second part to that question,
Yeah.
which is has been a question that I'm asking almost everyone on the podcast, which is this: let's just say you had a magic wand, Eric, and you could wave this amazing, phenomenal wand to solve just one challenge in the company. There's so many things that you mentioned a couple here, but I'm assuming there's even maybe more internally as well that we always want to focus and prioritize as business owners. But you wave this wand, problem gets solved. You are able to get as much client acquisition as you want. Revenue growth comes in as much as you want. What's the challenge you'd like to solve?
Oh, if those things are handled, because I was going to say, like, everything's going great, and our marketing efforts are working well. Um, this is actually a really personal thing for me.
Okay.
I know that our curriculum is very, very good, but I know it could be better.
Mm,
I'm a technology trainer. I've been doing it like I'm a young punk idiot, 19 years old in the Navy, and they threw me into a job where I was teaching nuclear power and electronics and digital, computers at
hmm
19, and I fell in love with that.
hmm
So from that point forward, no matter what job I've had in a wide variety of industries, I care passionately about how to find the most effective way to take interested, bright people and help them understand technology, and more importantly, be able to work with it to
hmm
succeed in creating a finished product
hmm
and providing value. And I know that while our curriculum, I'm super proud of it. I mean, for I think 5 years running, we've made the top. I don't know why they do 31, but Newsweek every year publishes a list of the top 31 boot camps worldwide. And we've been on the list for 5 years running, which I'm super
hmm
proud of. So
Awesome.
I'm going to brag about it. We have a great curriculum.
hmm
But if I could just carve out 6 months to a year where that's all that I did,
mm
all I did was start at the very beginning and go through literally every single one of those 700 videos. Sorry, 1,700 hours of videos,
hmm
and every single one of those thousands of documents, and just make them perfect. I'd love
mm
for what magic wand to do that.
Awesome. That's
So,
very interesting.
yeah, 'cause at the end of the day, I just care about people getting the best quality education they can
Yeah.
within 2 to 5 month period. Give them the tools where they can go and be part of an actual working development team, and just not have it be a short-term thing, that they can prosper,
Mm,
have a phenomenal tech career for decades. I'm
mm,
super thankful to the technology industry.
yeah.
I'm so lucky to have worked in it, all these decades, and I want that for other people.
Oh man, that's such a genuine answer. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
I love the question. I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah,
Do
I have. I'm. That's why I ask it. I ask it to everyone almost.
you perchance have this magic wand on you, or
Yes, but I'm gonna use the wish. So sorry. And then I have a final question for you here, Eric,
yeah.
which is actually not a question from me. It's a question from our last guest to you, and they had no idea who you are.
Oh, okay, I'm ready.
Here it is. Ready for it? So when looking at the company's growth, funnily enough, that's all we were talking about. When looking at the company's growth, what is the hardest thing that you have to do as a founder?
Figure out marketing. Look, technical delivery, how to deliver, quality technology education to people over the internet, how to do it in a self-paced manner so you don't lose anybody, like how to get people trained up and doing their jobs really well. We do a great job there. We're continually improving, but we do a great job. Marketing, getting finding that ideal customer
Mm,
who has that exact pain point that your offering will resolve, and making sure that what you want to say gets right in front of them at the exact right time.
hmm
Wow.
They
That's
see it. They know it's for
yeah.
them. Very
So
clear.
it's funny. as much studies I've done over the last several decades in technology, over the last 4 or 5 years, I've spent that, same degree of intensity in marketing.
Mm,
You have to know marketing. And a lot of technologists don't, it's just outside of the universe. They don't want to know anything about it. But we're
yeah,
entrepreneurs, we're business owners.
yeah.
And once you've nailed down, oh my, here's my beautiful quality product. I love it. I put my heart and soul into it. I know that in the hands of the right person, it'll change their lives. It'll be
Mhm,
exactly what solves their problem.
mhm,
It means nothing if you can't get that word in front of the right person at the
mhm,
right time.
mm, mm. Awesome. I love that answer. Eric, thank you so much for this. This has been such an incredible conversation. Where
I
should
love
people go if they want to learn a little bit more about you and, of course, also a little bit more about the Tech Academy?
Well, if they want to learn about me, they can go to ericdavidtech.com. That's ERIK, ericdavidtech.com. But if you want to learn about the School of Tech Academy, go to learncodinganywhere.com. Learn Coding Anywhere. Tells you
I will
about
leave everything down below here, of course, if you want to check any of those out. And if you're still listening to this conversation, you want to hear more conversations like this, please hit the subscribe button and I will see you on the next episode. Eric, thank you so much again for your time. Thank you.
my pleasure. Thanks so much.